All right, this is a 30-second commercial, and I'm going to throw a lot of numbers at you, but please stay with me. In just 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more on car insurance. This company has been offering great rates and great service for over 75 years. I didn't know that little lizard was over 75 years old. And anytime you need help, you can speak to one of those trained specialists. And anytime you need help, you can speak to one of their trained specialists 24/7. The company's called Geico. Go to geico.com today. Sorry for all the numbers, and in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1... we're out of time.
Now, Podcast One brings you Spike's Car Radio, a downloadable cars and coffee, hosted by writer, comedian, and automotive enthusiast, Spike Ferriston. Now, here's Spike.
Now it's time, and now... There's that radio guy. He just was on there, Zuckerman. And now it's Spike's Car Radio! Who is that guy, Will? What was his name?
His name was Rich.
Rich, wow, you're feeding back there. Did you hear that?
I'm very close to the speaker here in the
All right,
studio,
be careful.
Rich.
Rich's greatest contribution to Podcast One was, 1, hiring me, and 2, doing Welcome to Spike's Car Radio now! I miss Rich. He was great. It was really exciting back in the Rich days, wasn't it? It felt like real radio.
Was it that different?
Well, he was the only executive that was really around. Yeah, it was like having a radio executive
his
here.
office was literally right here in the booth.
Yeah.
So.
And then for the longest time, I had no idea that was his voice on the front of it. And then I started to see what a rinky-dink operation this was.
It's really a Rube Goldberg machine.
That's amazing. Zuckerman, I feel like you and I have not been together for months, my friend.
We have not.
Get close to that mic.
Okay. I backed away from the headphones because it's so freaking loud in the headphones.
Oh, well, we can control that.
That's
Here. That's right
say.
Here. What is this? This one. Okay, listen here. How's that? Is that better?
Lower.
How's that? Good?
That's better. So, because when you're shrieking like Rich.
Rich!
Yeah.
Rich!
My ears were bleeding.
How are you?
I'm terrific. And you?
I'm all right. Why haven't we seen each other? What's been going on?
Well,
I feel like we just did a show last week.
Okay, I had vacation.
Right.
Then you went into production
on
a television
I've
show.
been working.
You've been working.
Okay.
And then I was down in Mexico last weekend, and here we are.
Wow. Well, there you go. There you have it. Well, there's a lot to talk about. As you've noticed here on the desk, Zuckerman, our sponsors, the Valvoline guys, responded. I guess you said send us some stickers. They sent us shirts and stickers and Valvoline cozies. Look, that box is for you. I took what I want out of it. You can have the rest.
Okay, so what am I going to do with this shit? What is this? This is a Valvoline pad. Is it a sticky pad?
I don't know. There's a lot of good stuff in there.
Boogers in there. But where's the stickers?
That might be the stickers. Open that up. That could be a pad of stickers, or it could also be like a prescription pad.
I think it's a Post-it note pad. I'm going to prescribe you hot oil enema.
You're already getting into it. Before we even get into that, we got 9 days left, and it'll be even fewer, 8 days left to get the new Spike's Car Radio T-shirt. Look, Zuckerman, I'm wearing it. Plan Z, right here.
These are stickers.
They are
Holy
stickers. Look at that.
Shit. We have, these must be 400 stickers.
I've never seen an adult get excited about stickers. Like James, my son. What are you going to do with these stickers?
I'm going to put them everywhere. and I'm going to start. You know what I'm going to do, Ferriston?
What? What are you going to do?
I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do.
What?
I'm going to go to your neighborhood.
No, don't.
Yes, I am.
You're not welcome there.
I'm not going up specifically to your neighborhood, but in the shopping areas that you frequent. And I am going to sticker certain areas, and you're going to start seeing.
Valvoline stickers?
Yeah, with your little beady eyes, you will eventually see Valvoline stickers at certain places that you go to.
This is one of the things you do. And by the way, we're going to be up in Pebble in a week, and one of your favorite pastimes goes on in that hotel. Tell everybody what that is.
Well, there is a pad outside each and every elevator at every floor. And when I see those pads, I constantly leave you messages so that you never feel that you're lonely. There's always a message.
Or anybody else. Yeah, who happens to be waiting.
A message for you.
And what is the message that you leave every time?
I love to draw you a big fat penis right on those pads. And then, so when we come out of the elevator, I point and I go, look, a message for you.
And all of the nice people staying at the Spanish Bay.
They've never seen one? Oh, come on.
Not on a pad outside an elevator at that joint.
And then people are constant. Then I guess management wants to take my little penis pictures away, and then I have to constantly replace them.
I'm going to tip off security this year.
Okay. Let me get kicked out. You're going to kick me out. I'd be thrilled.
It's going to be great. I'm getting so excited about it. I'm all over the place here, but there's so much to talk about. We've also got this fella coming on from the LA Times who's got a new podcast, Larger Than Life, where he is profiling the Watts riots and the LA drag racer scene, and specifically Big Willie Robinson. He's going to be here in a little bit. I got to get through some of the business of the stuff that's going on. To prepare for my forums, I have two, Adam Carolla, and then I have the Porsche Racing Forum, which is Porsche the company, Patrick Dempsey, Hurley Haywood. Maybe I'll try to talk Jerry to coming up on the stage, but I'm not sure what he knows about racing. But
I remember a magazine that had a forum section in it.
That's Penthouse Forum, yeah.
That's right.
We could incorporate some of that.
Yes.
Yeah. What if I remember that? Hey, Hurley. So, but last night I rewatched Hurley, Zuckerman. Have you even seen Hurley, the movie that Pat Dempsey made? Did you watch it? You went to Soho
We were there
House, right?
together, Grandpa.
No, I didn't go.
Okay, I was there.
Yeah, Grandpa. You're grandpaing on this one. I remember I was out of town that day, but I had watched it and I rewatched it because I want to be familiar with it. But boy, what a story. What a story. What a racer Hurley Haywood is. The amount of knowledge he has about racing, and Dempsey too. The Peter Gregg story.
Peter, that was fascinating.
His personality.
The real personalities that were involved.
Right. And how Hurley Haywood's career is over. They talk about him bringing his partner to the track, and someone just comes up to him and goes, look, you can't. It doesn't mind that he's gay, but you can't bring your personal life to the track here. Your career is over.
Is it so different
it's over.
Today? Maybe yes, maybe no.
It is.
I don't know.
I mean, I think in sports, I think it's probably still a struggle. I wouldn't know. I don't know. That's not my fight. I have different fights. But the accumulated knowledge of Hurley Haywood and Dempsey, they're going to be there at the Pebble Beach Forum. Tickets are still on sale. I'm also giving away tickets. That's right. I've got 5 pair of tickets that I can give to you listeners. It's I believe it's Friday of next week, which is the 16th maybe, at 11 a.m. And if you want a pair of those tickets for free, $85 a piece, they're for free, ladies and gentlemen. Zuckerman, please let me try to get the information out. I turned away from you so I didn't have to look at your nonsense for now. Your Fatsian nonsense.
He's like a little kid. He's just like
he's like my
everywhere.
dad used to do. He's pesky. I was trying to give away tickets. DM me. I only have 5 sets of tickets. They're worth $85 a piece. Don't sell them. You can use them. And if you're going to be in Monterey, I'm happy to get you there. Adam Carolla is sold out and so oversold out. I don't have any tickets for that. Knock it off, please. Please.
Do you not get excited by stickers?
No.
Really?
My 9-year-old gets excited by stickers.
Are you going to bring some home?
No, because then he puts them on his wall, and then I have to pull them off, and I pull the paint off, and then I'm calling painters. That's what happens.
Such an old lady.
Or they end up on my cars.
Oh, Grandma Ferriston. Oh, Grandma. Can't have any fun around here.
There can't be fun when I've got all this to get out. I've got stuff I got to get out.
No fun around here.
No, it's not
Podcast
fun.
1.
Anyway, I feel like we've covered the Pebble Beach forums. You got to come check it out. What I was trying to get to before Zuckerman interrupted. Zuckerman, you're going to be there too, right? You'll be hanging out there.
Yes.
I can't have you on stage because you'll do this, and that will be too disruptive. But you'll be there.
I'll be in the audience like a monkey. With arms waving. Like the windy guy on top of the car dealership.
Can I get you a little like cage off to the side with a seat in it? That we could kids can come up and feed you peanuts, and you can give them stickers.
Yes. Perfect.
Anyway, I forget where I was, but it's going to be great. And here's what I would do if I were you. I'd be in the audience because I always leave a little time for Q&A. To have Hurley Haywood answer your racing questions about racing a Porsche.
I will put my hand up.
Isn't it amazing?
I will put my hand up. This is a forum, Ferriston. How does this relate to Penthouse Forum?
They're really stupid names. I know, the forums. But I make them fun. I make them enjoyable. You guys can ask some questions there. And, I just forgot how much Hurley won Daytona 24 5 times.
Yeah.
And as he's helping Dempsey in this movie with the racing, the tips there and their timing, the switching of drivers, the amount of knowledge, accumulated knowledge of this guy in racing is really extraordinary.
And on top, what I liked about the movie, too, what I like about his stories, he had a natural affinity for it. somehow he had a natural affinity for driving fast, which, of course, he then honed through practice and practice. But he was a pretty great driver, just getting in the family car.
He got a go-kart first.
Right.
And his mom said to him...
And then was it a Corvette after that?
No, wait. His mom says to him in the go-kart, I'm finally seeing a personality with you. When you get into that go-kart, you're turning into someone. Right? And then he starts driving at age 12. He starts driving the family car at age 12. How does that happen? I'm just going to start driving, right?
Different time, different place.
My son Jack is 12. He's just about to turn 12. I can't even imagine. I still have trouble with him riding his bike down the street. And then the Corvette was in college. He took the Corvette to college, and he started racing it. Now, he turns out he has all this in common with Peter Gregg. Right? He had a Corvette. He was in college. Peter Gregg's 10 years older than him when they finally race against each other, and he beats Peter Gregg. Peter Gregg loves the attention, can't get enough of it. Hurley Haywood can't stand it. Sometimes thinks about crashing his car so that he doesn't have to do the interviews after the race.
Such different personalities, such two extreme personalities.
Yeah, it's cool. So, we're all going to be up there together. Come see us. It's going to be a lot of fun. As I said, if you can't afford the tickets, I've got 5 pair to give away. You're going to DM me. Now, Zuckerman, I know you're going to enjoy this next topic before we get to our friend here, Big Willie Robinson. No, it's not. No. See, you are a 9-year-old. No, it's about the Type 64 that's coming up for auction.
Farts and poops.
And Hannah Elliott, who writes for Bloomberg, I also believe, who is dating Magnus Walker, right? Don't they live together? I thought. Doesn't matter. It's slightly irrelevant. Wrote an article last week about that car that she titled "The $20 Million Nazi Porsche That May Not Be a Porsche at All." Right? Now, you and I have been talking about this for the last 3 or 4 weeks, trying to make sense of this car, right? She does not pull any punches. A car built for the National Socialist Motor Corp in 1939 has become the most controversial vehicle to go up for auction in years. And she puts the word Nazi Porsche in there. And she goes through...
It's true.
She goes through Andy Prill's report. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but this car's going up for auction next week. First of all, question to you. Have you read the article?
I have not read that specific article.
Okay, but just hearing the headline, what do you think that does to buyers?
Well, I think it scares him away. It's it's not as bad as the dud auction of Hitler's last limousine, right? Like, who wants to be that
didn't
guy?
Sell?
No, nobody wants to have Hitler's car.
Right.
Yeah, it's not a big sale. It's like having Ferdinand Marcos' car. Nobody wants a dictator's car.
The conflict. I mean, Nazi history aside, look, we're all well aware of what happened there, and that's not news. But this car. Here's the line. The conflict that has wealthy collectors whispering is that the Type 64 may not actually be a Porsche.
Well, it's not.
Followed by Andy Brill, who says it's not.
It's not a Porsche.
You and I have been saying
Porsche.
This all along.
It is not a Porsche.
Wow,
it is not a Porsche. It's not a Porsche.
The audience is so happy right now. They're so happy.
It's not.
You're pronouncing it correctly. And you're right. They put on the Porsche badge
later.
Afterwards. Right. Then why are they trying to market this thing as a Porsche?
Well, they try because it's really, Ferdinand Porsche had designed this car at the behest of the Nazi Party. He designed many things at the behest of the government, and it looks a lot like the direction he was going to eventually go in, which his son then took up that standard. And you see the relationship between the Type 64 and the 356. It is in the family, and it is the earliest car that really stands out as a design that emanates from the Porsche family. Now, people should know that Ferdinand Porsche had a very long history in the automobile industry, starting, I think, even prior to World War I, and certainly was one of the instrumental designers at Mercedes-Benz for their SSKs, their big vehicles. He also designed the Volkswagen, what became the Volkswagen Beetle, and he designed tanks and armaments.
Do you know we share a birthday? Ferdinand Porsche and myself, same day, September 3rd. How about that?
Wow.
Yeah, 64, year of the invention of the 911.
And it's a Type 64. And you were born in 64.
Wait, you see how
Type
it's all making
64.
sense?
It's all
QAnons,
making
are you
sense.
listening, QAnons?
Yes.
I'll tell you who else. And I forget, Hurley Haywood and Peter Gregg, same birthdays. What is that? That should have been the whole movie. We should just do a movie about same birthdays. Anyways, listen, so his take, Andy Prill's take in this article, which is a very illuminating article with a questionable headline. While the Type 64 is a direct ancestor of the Porsches that came later, it's a mixing bowl heritage that disqualifies it from branded distinction.
Yes.
Right? Because
Company
Porsche
didn't
had,
exist.
Well,
it didn't exist as a company.
No, but for the law, we have the 001 Porsche, right? We have that car.
We
And
know
then
what
we
it
have
is.
Then we have the Gamund 356s. So I don't know. Am I wrong in saying Aram Sotheby's is here out trying to sell this as the first Porsche?
Okay.
It's not.
All of that.
Why did they do that? Whose decision was that? Or are they even doing it? Is this fake outrage? Do I have a right to be outraged?
I do think at the right price, it's a really cool piece of proto-history. It's Neanderthal man to Homo sapiens. It's a missing link, so to speak.
Correct. But
on its own, what is it? I don't know. And it's certainly.
But so what is that number? This is where you and I started, and this is where we've heard this car come up for sale. It's been offered to friends of ours, and it never gets sold. And it seems to go up and up and up, and everybody gets to the same place over and over again, including now Bloomberg, who's laid it out in a very coherent, nice piece that puts it all together. But still, we've been here before.
I can give my value,
and here it is. I just before you do that. I'm on Aram Sotheby's site, and here they are advertising it as the 1939 Porsche Type 64, right? The antecedent of Porsche's historical evolution, the first and sole remainder of 3 examples. But they're calling it a Porsche. They're saying among the blah, 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 blah. I like those little histories there, but then when they talk about the car. But they're positioning it, but if you're reading between the lines, they seem to agree with this. Right?
Right.
And then they got Jeff Zwart, and somebody else from the Porsche community to go out and attest to this car and how great it is. And I don't know. I feel like they abuse those guys, too, and use them.
They're trying to sell. They're trying to sell
They're
something.
salesmen, right?
They're salesmen, so they're doing their job. I think that their
But why would you consort with auction folk? When you lay down with auction folk, Zuckerman,
you wake up with fleas and lice
and fraud, fleas and fraud, right? Do you disagree with me, or do you agree with me on that? Would you trust auction people? Would you put the good name of Zuckerman and attach it to the auction folk
for money? For a lot of money, which is what. So you ask me, why would Zwart be supporting it? And I don't think that they paid him money for that. I find that to be curious. I do think the car is cool, and I think the car.
Well, they're lending their reputation to the authenticity.
I
of this.
believe a true collector would pay $2 million for this.
Okay,
that's what I think.
That's reasonable.
Yes,
not well,
1 to 5.
Here's what they want.
1 to 5.
They want 22.
That ain't happening. Think of all the things you could buy for $22 million that are real.
I'll tell you what will happen. These guys are probably feeling the heat right now, and have probably got that crazy little network of.
Fake bidders? Is that what you were going to say, the other F word?
Allegedly fake bidding system where it gets sold to a mysterious Russian somewhere, and then it's gone, and then it ends up on Telecrest in Europe. Telecrest? What's that? That's where the cars
Black Hawk
go.
collection.
Yeah, the Black Hawk. I don't know about Black Hawk, but I've seen stuff that supposedly sells end up right on Telecrest. Yeah, you're holding up little raccoon videos. We like the little raccoon videos on Instagram. I find it takes the pressure off during the day.
You see them with their little hands greedily eating. So,
well, anyway, I liked the piece that Hannah wrote. I thought it was cool, and I thought she did a really good job of kind of putting it all together for us. And still, it leaves us all with a head scratch on what the car is. But it is what it is. We wish Aram Sotheby's a lot of luck with it. I had all my little pocket auction guides to bring in today.
I blew that too,
and I left them home. But we really don't have time. We're gonna talk to this guy about his podcast about Big Willie Robinson, which is going to be cool. I feel like we've covered everything, unless you have anything to cover in this first act of Spike's Car Radio. Did we leave anything out? We covered the T-shirts. We covered the tickets. I hate selling stuff, Zuckerman. This is it. I don't think I'm doing another shirt after this.
Really?
Well, I have one more idea. but it's, you know, why do I have to go sell stuff? Bill's hats. Did you see what happened? Have you been to Malibu?
Has he sold out?
He said, you know, my thing was, look, I don't care what you can obviously do whatever you want, but I'm not going to handle sales. I don't want to deal with sending people stuff. And he goes, it's not going to be a problem. Okay. One of the first things that happened is a girl who follows us in South Korea said, I need one of these, and sent this South Korean address. And, you know, it was already problematic. And we're going to send her one. We love her and whatever. She's one of our fans in South Korea. But still, I saw Bill the next day, and he goes, this is insane. He goes, it's going to be my whole job, like just mailing hats. And I said, yeah, I tried to tell you that. Most people don't live in Malibu, you know, and we're talking about them, and people like hats, and now you got a job. But he says he's up for it. His dream is to do this for Jerry, you know.
Really?
Yes.
To send the hats out with his salami fingers,
yeah.
with his greasy chicken fingers. Just everyone should be prepared to have grease stains on their hats.
That's hilarious.
Bill really, you know, doesn't clean his hands off after he makes a sandwich and goes to the hat counter.
How about the number of people that direct message me? And he goes, you know, he cannot be nice after, you know, sometimes. Are you sure you want to keep being his friend and doing the podcast there? And I'm like, yeah, that's what we like about him. He's the deli Nazi. He's like the soup Nazi. That's the whole idea. If he's not nice to you, do better, and then he'll be nice to you. But you have to do better, not him.
It's like there is a very thick crust, and inside that thick crust beats a very warm heart.
Yes.
But you have to chisel away to get to that little nugget.
Or just how about follow the rules, right? He has one simple rule. Like he put that little cell phone sign up. Don't be on your phone while you're ordering. This morning, I texted you. I was at Le Pain Quotidien. Is that how you pronounce
LPQ.
it? LPQ. And I've got these entitled West Side moms on their phones. There's a giant line, and they're talking and trying to order at the same time. And I wanted to kill them.
Why didn't you?
I did the right thing, and I just left. I just walked away.
Wow, that's mature.
But I couldn't understand. I just couldn't understand the
loud
conversation.
To time and place. It's like the people in the airport. Let me give you an example.
If you notice a line behind you, don't you go, let me try to get myself out of here first, just to be polite?
Yes, Ferguson, and I also, walking through the airport, I just don't stop in the middle of the walkway when some guy like me is behind, about to run him over with luggage.
Right.
Here's the deal with Bill. Know what the fuck you want when you get up there. I mean, imagine you've been to a restaurant
I
before.
want you to be the guy with the menu talking to the line, and I want you to say it just like that.
Yeah.
Know what the fuck you want.
Right. Look at the menu.
This is lunch. This is eggs.
Lunch. This is eggs. This is not the menu is not some tablet from Aliens that you need to decipher. There's no Rosetta Stone. You have an idea of what you want. Mm-hmm. Order it. Practice saying it in your head, and when you get up there, say it clearly. Don't say So don't ask him what should I eat today.
Devil's advocate. You're in Malibu. You're having a nice summer's day, and you're kind of cruising in, and there's Wings music playing. Right? You're in that mood. That's the interface that doesn't work. People are kind of grooving on the beat. They're smoking their weed. They're coming in and relaxed, and he's like, "I need to get you in and get you out." And that's where we see that bump, that rough.
Okay, I'm not mentally lazy when I'm ordering. In fact, if I'm hungry and ordering food, I'm focused. Okay, so I'm not all just wafting in on the Eagles, having a peaceful, easy feeling, and I'm high, and I don't. No, I'm hungry. I want some fucking food, and I know what I want.
So if you do it right, just like the Real Soup Nazi, a place I used to frequent, and I got in trouble the first time, you do the order the way the guy wants the order if you want his food. It's that simple. Right?
Yeah.
Don't DM me that you had a problem. You change. All right. Well, Zuckerman.
And order something on the menu, too.
Yes.
Right.
And order a hat. Don't bother me about the hats. But go to Blip Shift and get your new Plan Z shirt, which we're really excited about. I'm wearing mine today. My son said he liked it. He said it's cool. He said it looks good.
Excellent.
It was rare to get a compliment in my house. We'll see you in 1 minute with more Spike's Car Radio. Let me tell you something. Did you know most people have no idea whether or not the motor oil they're using is good enough to protect their engine? Everybody's driving around not even caring about what's going on under the hood. Only one brand literally goes the extra mile to test everything, including ensuring they're the right motor oil for your car, and I'm talking about Valvoline. That's right, Valvoline is the only motor oil brand in the world with an engine lab completely dedicated to testing motor oil. Valvoline takes their products and their competitors, I might add, and runs them through the gauntlet. I'm talking thousands of miles. Then the engineers and technicians take those engines apart to evaluate exactly what happened. Please don't try this at home. Trust that Valvoline has done it for you. Was there carbon buildup? How did the seals hold up? Did the engine perform like it was supposed to? And most importantly, were the critical engine components protected? You don't know, but Valvoline does. So when Valvoline is formulating motor oil for your engine, they know exactly how it performs and what protects it best, because they've seen the results firsthand. It's why I trust Valvoline in my car, and it's why Valvoline has been trusted for more than 150 years. Head over to Valvoline.com/Spike to see what product is right for your engine. That's Valvoline.com/Spike.
You're listening to Spike's Car Radio.
Welcome back. We're here with LA Times staff writer Daniel Miller. How are you, Daniel?
I'm all right. Thanks for having me.
And he's got a new podcast, docuseries from LA Times Studios. I didn't know they had their own podcast studio over there. It's called Larger Than Life. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you've got Zuckerman over here.
Hello, sir.
Good
Just
to see
keep
you.
your hands away from his mouth.
Is my old college friend Dave Warden still writing for the LA
Oh,
Times?
boy.
I don't believe so, but there's been a lot of churn at the paper in recent years.
Yeah, nothing's the same.
Churn. Welcome, man. Thanks for coming in here. First of all, LA Times Studios, what's that?
So LA Times Studios is a relatively new venture. It's sort of like a sister company that does podcasts, documentaries, and other digital ventures. And the LA Times has new ownership over the last year. Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong, a local billionaire, bought the paper and has been investing heavily. So it's a good time to be there.
He owns all of Koreatown.
He does?
No, that's Dr. Lee. Dr. Lee owns Koreatown. Your doctor is the
supplement guy?
No, his doctor is medical pharmaceuticals.
That's right, and he's actually has a small piece of the Lakers, if I'm not mistaken, and owns quite a bit of real estate in El Segundo. We are now in one of his buildings. We left our historic headquarters in downtown.
Right.
So I've got a commute now on the 105.
Yeah.
Who is in the downtown building?
So it is being redeveloped, and it's unrelated to the Los Angeles Times. It will soon be pricey condos, as far as I know. But we have a beautiful brand new building with a podcast studio, much like this one. So it's exciting to be at a legacy paper that's, trying to reinvent itself.
Okay. So you got this studio, and you decide you're going to put something in it, or do you have this story? Or tell me how Larger Than Life comes to be, and then tell everybody what it's about. Because I had not heard any of this, except I'd heard about the Watts riots, but I didn't know there was a car-related story involved.
Sure. So the podcast is about Big Willie Robinson, a legendary Los Angeles street racer, 6'6", muscle-bound titan, an African-American man who believed that he could use cars to unite people. I first heard the name Big Willie Robinson in spring 2017. At the time, I was covering the entertainment industry for the paper, and I was sent out to a car lot in the Valley to do a story about how local businesses might be affected by a WGA strike. There was no WGA strike, it turned out, but local businesses were extremely worried. And one of the companies I spoke to was a picture car company. So they outfit vehicles for productions, film and TV shows. And the owner's showing me around his car lot, and he stops at this busted-up race car. 1966 Plymouth Barracuda, but it was totally a mess. No windshield, no roof. And it said, Street Racers, Inc., National and International Brotherhood on the side of it. And he said, you should know what this car is. This is the car of one of the most famous street racers of all time. And I gave him this dumb look. It was obvious. I had no idea what he was talking about. And he started telling me the story about Big Willie. That he was friends with a publisher of the LA Times, Otis Chandler, that he was friends with Mayor Tom Bradley, actors like Steve McQueen. I thought he was BSing me. I didn't think it was real. And I started researching it then, and so much of what he told me was true, and it set me off on this journey to tell this guy's story.
Wow. And it's all starts with the Watts riots, which is in 1965.
That's right.
Zuckerman, were you around for the Watts riots? You weren't around.
I was 1
you
year
were 1
old.
year old.
But I have to say, in a way, it starts with the Watts riots, but he's Big Willie before then. He was a Green Beret. I believe he.
Well, let's
was,
let's go through the story with the context and first kind of lay out the Watts riots, right?
Sure.
That's 5 days of violence. I'm just going to go through some stats for everybody because there's a younger generation that might not know about this. That left 34 people dead, 1,032 people injured, 4,000 arrested, and did $40 million worth of property damage here in L.A., right? And it begins with a traffic stop?
That's right.
A traffic stop of a teenager for drunk driving.
That's right. A young black man was pulled over.
Okay.
And it quickly devolved into chaos. Citizens, swarm the police as this arrest is occurring. People start throwing rocks at the cops, and it mushrooms from there. And South Los Angeles devolves into chaos. And,
right.
The riots, I think, really exposed LA's deep-seated problems. LA was largely a segregated city at that time. African Americans were living on the South Side, and they were dealing with intense police brutality, and this was sort of the moment when things exploded. But it created an opening for Big Willie, because he had this idea, and it's kind of a Pollyanna idea, right, that cars can unite people. Mm-hmm. And it sounds a little naive these days, but he started pushing it.
I don't think it's naive in any way.
No?
No, it still holds true. I think the car people that we meet are some of the most welcoming people in the world, right? I noticed it. The Smothers brothers were talking about it. When I was talking to Dickie Smothers, he said, in entertainment, you're boxed out of certain areas, but we would turn to the car people, and they're like, hey, you want to race? I'll take you to the track and teach you how to race. You love cars? I love different cars, but we all love cars.
There's an aspect of it that's a great equalizer. Two guys can stand looking at a car together. They can be completely different socioeconomic classes, but they can both share their opinion about that car. So it's one thing that they can talk about.
Totally, I agree.
So Big Willie now, how long after the riots is he getting this notion that it's drag racing, that we're going to unite L.A. through drag racing?
That's right, and really doing it on the street, so it's street racing.
It's illegal street racing?
It's illegal street racing. And
but how long after the riots does that
About
begin?
a year after he really starts pushing this.
Right, so there's still tension a year after in L.A. between the police and the community.
Oh, yeah, the rubble's still on the ground in South L.A. when he's doing this.
Right.
And, I mean, I really have to stress just how audacious this was. Because this is breaking the law, street racing, right?
Right.
And he is so successful at uniting people that the LAPD reaches out to him. Now, this is a police force that at the time was known in South Los Angeles, like I said, for its brutality and for its racism. But they reach out to Willie. They actually track him down at a street race and say they want to work with him. He winds up having a meeting with the leaders of the city at City Hall, and they say they want to help him stage races on city streets. So, I mean, come on.
No, the races, but just a dumb question. Who are the races between at that point? Now, is he uniting just his community, or is he saying, come on, we're going to race the cops off duty? You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, of course. So
is he channeling the anger of the community by saying, let's channel it into something productive? Street racing.
Yeah, and I think he's able to convert that anger pretty quickly into something that's joyful. And it's not just people in his community. He gets people from the valley, people from the suburbs, people from all over to come to South LA.
Right.
And I think that's what really struck the police, which had to do a lot of damage control after the riots and had to sort of change how they were perceived.
And how many nights a week were they doing these races, and where were they?
So it's a lot of the streets that we all know in Los Angeles, down on La Brea, Exposition, Rodeo Road, which is now named after Obama.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just South LA. They would go to the San Fernando Valley as well. He did this all the time. I mean, I don't know if I would say 7 days a week, but this was constant. This was a culture that he was helping create, and it was just everything to him.
So it says here you've got cops, you've got criminals, you've got movie stars, you've got miscreants. I'm pointing at Zuckerman. And you've even got Crips and Bloods the drag strip. And it's just a straight line race.
That's
These
right.
two cars are going up against each other, and whoever gets to the end wins.
Yeah, usually a quarter or an eighth mile. Sometimes they just would point out a tree or a lamppost.
All right. And all right, well, you brought some clips, right, that you're going to play for us?
That's
right. Do you want to set something up? What do we have that's first you're going to play for us?
So this first clip we're going to hear is from the first episode. And what it does, I think, is really give a sense of this guy's persona. The podcast is called Larger Than Life. He really was larger than life, and you'll hear it here. What sort of person would believe that he could steer the young and the impressionable away from gangs and drugs and keep them safe on the bleakest of streets? Someone outsized in every way.
larger than life, man. Like 6'6", 300 pounds.
He's the man. His biceps were as big as my waist.
It almost seemed like people wanted, maybe even needed Willie to be this way.
Huge arms, man. It was as big as my head.
Bigger than my legs.
Giant.
The vehicles he drove, muscle cars that were big and bad, perfectly matched him in size and spirit.
Okay, this is a car that was banned from NASCAR because it was too fast. And they had the biggest wing on the back. You saw this car coming a mile away.
Willie did it all, including a stint in show business, where even small parts as an actor led to big-name friendships.
Steve McQueen, Paul Newman, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, there's nowhere you're going to find this, but he was asked to be Darth Vader.
How's that for a tease?
Yeah. He was asked to be Darth Vader.
So episode 4 is all about his Hollywood ties. And yes, we do explore that claim of his. He had real ties to the Star Wars franchise because he was friends with one of the producers, a guy named Gary Kurtz.
Uh-huh. Well, I guess the size, yeah, the Darth Vader. That would be perfect. And the big arms. Well, it sounds great. It sounds so organized. This is one of those organized written podcasts, isn't it, where you write the whole script? And then,
yeah.
Do they, LA Times, do they have to go through it with you? Do they give you notes? I'm curious. Do you get complete creative freedom when you put that together?
Oh, no, we had a whole team assembled. We work with a production company called Neon Hum Media here in Los Angeles. So we had an executive producer, an editor, a really great team. This was my first podcast. I've long been a print journalist. And so I certainly needed help along the way, and
it sounds great.
Yeah, not like our schlock.
No, I was going to say something. Don't you want to get some of those music cues?
I want the music cues. I'm like, forget Ira Glass. We've got the guy over here now. Yeah,
Zuckerman's going into the bathroom. But what would we find when he came out?
What's on my hands?
Stickers. I like it. It sounds great. Wow.
Well, thank you so much.
Have you always been a gearhead? I mean, did you really respond to this, or is this just journalism for you?
Well, I grew up around cars.
You did.
I come from 3 generations of LA car dealers. So I grew up at a car dealership in Culver City.
Oh, what kind of dealer? What kind of cars?
It was called Culver City Import Group. So it was Nissan, Mazda, Subaru, Suzuki, and Hyundai.
Wow.
And I work there in the summer. I drive my grandfather's 1972 240Z.
Wow.
So Datsun and Nissan is sort of a big part of my life. Yeah, no, I'm a car guy.
Now, where is Big Willie Robinson's car? Do we know where that is? Is that the Peterson or something?
So it was a bit of a mystery. His main car was a '69 Dodge Charger Daytona with a Hemi, and it is gone. That car was called the King Daytona. There's a pretty rough story in one of the episodes, episode 3, about how a racist actually destroyed his car.
Oh, God.
His wife had a matching car, the Queen Daytona. It was crashed back east at a drag strip. He had another car, the Duke and Duchess Daytona. That car was actually auctioned last year at a Mecum auction in May. I went out to Indianapolis for it. That car is a non-Hemi Daytona. It fetched something like $203,000 with the buyer's premium. A beautiful car, stenciled with the Brotherhood logo on the side of it. It doesn't have that Hemi, though, so for collectors, perhaps not as interesting. And there are a couple more cars of his out at that lot in the San Fernando Valley.
And when did Big Willie die?
So Big Willie passed away in 2012. And, his legacy has sort of faded a little bit. And, that was one of the aims here, to kind of reintroduce him to a new generation of people. I think that his message can resonate. We were talking about it earlier, that cars can unite people.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy to be cynical these days, looking at how divided the world is. But, he made it work after the Watts riots. If it can work then, maybe it can work again in a major way.
So hero, real hero.
Bring some drag racing to Washington right now. Is that good?
Drag racing and drag. And we unite.
I just find cars to be, especially now, it's very relaxing. Just like you can get in your car, turn everything off, right? It's always been that way. It's not only a unifier, it's also just, it's Valium for me.
Right. But I like, A, the driving, B, you can see the effect if we go, say, to Malibu and we park our cars and we have something interesting in the parking lot and you just see the people gravitate to it. All people from all over the world, all walks of life, and they're all going to get there and share whatever their observations, usually incorrect, too, which is charming. They're incorrect.
Let's go through those top questions that we hear. Number one. No. Is it real? Is not one. What's number one? The number one guy who doesn't know car question about your car.
What is it?
What year is it?
What year is
What
it?
year is that?
Yeah.
Is that a 65?
The guess. Yes,
Yeah,
you're
the-
right
the
about
year
that.
guess
The
would be number
the year
one.
guess is the number one question. It's
Right.
funny.
Then number two.
You're a journalist and hence a psychologist. Why is the year? Are we all trying to get a point of reference and share our knowledge?
I think because people are trying to sort of tap into their own memory bank.
Right.
You know, was I driving when that car came out? I mean, when I drive my Z, which is nothing particularly fancy, I can't tell you how many times it's been a way to connect with people because they say, man, I had one of those in high school, or man, I had one in college. What year is that? Oh yeah, I was at UCLA back then. Blah blah blah.
Right.
I think you're very kind, Daniel. But I think most people are kind of morons and can't come up with an original question to save their lives and have not anticipated the moment that you've probably been asked that about your car a million times.
I'm with Daniel on it. I think Daniel's got it. I think you've got it too. I think it's a combination.
Come on, let's be honest. That's probably right. It's like, the number of times I've seen people walk up to Jerry and go, "Where's Kramer?" It's like, yeah, okay.
We never heard that.
It's It's just most people don't go, okay, let me ask the question behind that. Do something a little more interesting.
I understand people are filling the air.
But I would expect that you guys also get questions from people who are kind of trying to stump you or display their expertise.
Those guys don't ask the questions. Now, those guys, you'll catch them like reaching. It's always they reach under the wheel well and they touch something under there, and then they point to their son or wife and go, "Yeah, I told you it was fake."
Or here's one:
because I can feel the fakeness.
Or a real connoisseur will do something very strange. Ask to open the door and smell the inside of the car. If it's a vintage car.
Also a real pervert does that, sucker. Right?
No, we're not talking shoes or underwear, Ferris. We're talking cars. They know that old cars have a particular aroma that is not replicated these days. I'm sure your 240Z must have its own peculiar smell that is nowhere else in the world.
You know what's a good question is, how did you get your car? That would be a better question, right? Tell me about, because you have a great story about how you have your Z. It's my grandfather. I love stories, and that's what I frequently will ask people. How did you get it? Tell me about this car. And they'll tell you the one or two salient facts or the interesting stories that come along with it. But the year is slightly irrelevant. That's a question I think of. That's a game show question you're asking to see how smart you are.
Throat clearing.
What
how
year
did
is
you
it?
get your what color is that Z?
The Z is white, which is what it was, from the factory. Not my choice, but I'm keeping it stock.
No, why not? What's the interior? Is it black?
It's black vinyl. Very hot black vinyl these days.
Yes.
All right. We have to take one quick break. We're going to come back with more of Big Willie Robertson's podcast, Larger Than Life. We'll be right back. Think of all the weird things found in cars. I'm not talking about your garden variety petrified French fries or the stuff Moise leaves in the front of my GT2 RS, like melted crayons and all sorts of exotic fruits I didn't know existed. There's also live snakes, bizarre trinkets, the kind of stuff that just makes you wonder about, folks. And I do wonder about Moise, who shares our GT2 RS supplement. Another thing that's going to make you wonder, but in a good way, are Continental belts. No, not the things you wear in your pants. These are for cars. And I bet you didn't know they're OE in tens of millions of Chrysler and Dodge, Ford, and GM vehicles that roll off the assembly line. They're also OE on the majorities of BMWs and BMWs, two of my favorite brands. Now, Continental's launching the aftermarket Multi-V belt and the OE pedigree. It's their OE Technology Series belts that are fanatically engineered for the perfect fit, form, and function. And Continental has an OE Technology Series Multi-V belt for 98% of vehicles on the road and in the U.S. and Canada. Hey, you get enough surprises working on cars and trucks. A belt should not be one of them. Go with the Continental OE Technology Series Multi-V belt, the belt with the OE pedigree. To get the full story, go to oetechnologyseries.com.
You're listening to Spike's Car Radio.
All right, we're back with LA Times staff writer Daniel Miller. He's got a Viceroy on his wrist, too, if I'm not mistaken. Is that what that is?
That's what that is.
You like old Hoyers. He's one of us, people. His new podcast is Larger Than Life from the LA Times studio, and this one is about racing legend Big Willie Robinson, who appeared about a year after the Watts riots and unified Los Angeles with drag racing. Illegal drag racing. We've got a few more clips to play. After the last LA riots, there was no drag racing, was there? The lesson of Big Willie was not learned, right?
Actually,
or was there?
He had a racetrack on Terminal Island that had been shut down during the LA riots. After the riots, the powers that be helped him reopen it again. So he had an actual track. He had gotten people off the streets and onto a racetrack. It sort of had a 2-year run, 93 to 95. You could bring your Porsche out there and drag race. It was open to everyone, but it again closed.
Detroit has a similar strategy with their population there. We were shooting there 3 or 4 years ago, and you've got the gangs of kids on their dirt bikes, just flying, doing wheelies down the road. It's spectacular to see. And we had a police officer with us, and we said, "How do they get to do that? Because it looks pretty organized and they're having fun." He goes, "We don't care. If people are committing crimes and they want to do that, and that's how they express themselves, we're going to let that go." And I thought that was a really smart strategy. And again, it's kind of a Big Willie Robinson strategy, which is this is illegal drag racing, but it works.
Absolutely.
And we're going to be flexible.
I mean, I literally spoke to former LAPD chiefs of police and others at the department who said that crime went down, particularly vehicular-related crime, when Willie's drag strip was open on Terminal Island.
Wow. Well, I'm getting excited that we're going to be able to illegal drag race again, Zuckerman. What would we race? Where would we race?
We would call Busy Moto and get a 1,000 horsepower minivan.
All right, Daniel, play us another clip. We want to hear more about this.
All right, so the next clip that we're going to hear is a bit about Big Willie's legendary Dodge Charger Daytona, the King Daytona. You'll hear all about how that car came to be. Only about 500 of the first-generation Dodge Charger Daytonas were ever built, making them extremely rare. And on top of that, the Daytona that Willie got was one of just dozens outfitted with a high-powered Hemi motor. He painted his red, and he called it the King Daytona.
There it is. There it is.
So I just want to point one thing out.
Yes.
That car you hear idling in the background is a Dodge Charger Daytona with a Hemi. I was dead set on finding the real sounds of one of these cars. I didn't want to use stock audio. So they only made a few dozen with a Hemi. So I basically had to go on a scavenger hunt to find one. And there's a guy in Orange County who has one of these beautiful cars. It's painted green. And he let me drive out there with my recording equipment. I have my face like inches from the tailpipe with my microphones, inhaling the exhaust. But we got the authentic sound. And, that was important because I thought that if, true car people were listening to this podcast, they would just, call bullshit if we got it wrong.
I love that. I love details like that. Yeah, most networks would not give a crap about it. But that's right. I think there's a vroom, Will, speaking of sounds, there's a vroom in our podcast at the top. And people always ask me about that. What was the guy's name again? Who was here?
Oh, Rich.
Rich.
Yeah.
Is that him just going?
No, I pulled that vroom sound effect.
And what's that from?
I don't know.
Where did you go? Did you go to the lengths that Daniel went to get us a good vroom?
I went to a car enthusiast website called freesound.org and found it from there.
Well, if you're listening and you can identify that sound, you tell us, and we'll give you a Valvoline sticker. All right, play us another clip. We don't have much time left.
So the next clip we're going to hear, I felt that I had to go see street races in South Los Angeles if I was going to tell this story. It took forever to see some races.
What does that mean? Illegal street races?
These are illegal street races.
And they're still going on right now?
They're still going on. Okay. Almost any night of the week, you can find a race where two cars square off for a pot of money.
And how did you find them?
So as part of this podcast, I got to know a lot of members of the Brotherhood of Street Racers. Willie's group is still around and active, and they were very welcoming to me. And, I got tips, I got text messages, I got emails about where to go and when. I struck out. I can't tell you how many times I'd be sitting on a deserted street, in Compton at 3 a.m. waiting for a race that never happened.
Really? But are they always going on at that time of day?
I would say that, each night, people meet up at like a Del Taco parking lot around midnight, and it kind of starts from there. So, yeah, it can go really late into the evening. The races that we eventually wound up seeing started around midnight, lasted till 3 or 4. So in this clip, you'll hear what happened when I went to one of those races. We made our way toward the action. People crowded the starting line, their mobile phones trained on the cars as they took off. At one point, the driver of a Chevy Camaro lost control right off the line, his car fishtailing wildly mere feet from us as he struggled to maintain control. But it was otherwise an orderly affair. That is, until I heard someone yell 5-0. In an instant, it was chaos.
What are we doing now? We're running from the cops.
We were across the street from my car. It was up the road a bit, in the direction of a police cruiser whose lights were flashing. But racers were speeding by, making it impossible to cross the street.
Dude, where's my car? All right, well, let's be safe here. Car's here.
We sprinted across the street and hopped in the Kia. My heart was pounding.
And then we were arrested for driving a Kia.
No, my car was in the shop, so I had a Kia Soul, a rental Kia Soul.
Up against the car! What are you driving? Is that the most, Daniel, you seem like the nicest guy in the world. Is that the most illegal thing you've ever done in your life? Can you get in trouble for watching an illegal street race?
You know, the cops just want you to disperse.
They just want you to get out.
Yeah, they pulled somebody over, and,
Right.
you know, that guy had a bad night, but everybody else fled.
But as a journalist, I guess you're entitled to kind of tag along on anything. Where is that professional line? Like, if I were to say to you, hey, Zuckerman and I are robbing a bank tonight. You want to see what it's really like? Would you be able to go along with us?
I don't know the answer to that one, but I will tell you that we did talk about this at the paper because I knew I was going to go do this, and
Yes.
I had a producer with me. We were getting audio and video. There's video of that night on our website. I was basically told after some consulting by some of the bosses at the LA Times, don't get arrested.
Right.
And I basically decided how to approach the night with that in mind. So when it came time to run, we ran.
Right. Don't get arrested. I can't. Did lawyers give you that advice? It's good advice for anybody, by the way. Don't get arrested.
Yeah, I think it filtered down from on high. Yeah.
That's good that you got to do it, but boy, it's an interesting little question, isn't it? Well, it's fascinating. I think that might be your next series. Is this illegal street racing scene? I really have a ton of questions about. I want to know how the whole thing works. Right?
Oh yeah, it's a wild world with rules and dramas,
exactly.
and beefs, and you wouldn't. It was a pleasure to sort of dive into something I knew nothing about. I'm a car guy, but I did not know about this.
What are
corner
some of the
it.
rules when you say rules?
So every race is a negotiation that it's just like two kids in high school, like talking trash, calling each other out like they're going to fight.
Okay.
But they never actually fight, but most of the time is spent talking trash. So you will have the pot established at $2,000 or something like that, right? But then you will have an endless negotiation of who gets to be in which lane because, of course, the outside lane could be sloped a little bit, right? Because you're racing on city streets. Sometimes the cars don't have equal performance. Sometimes you've got a Dodge Challenger with 700-something horsepower, one of those Hellcats, and the other guy's got a 5.0 Mustang. It's not a fair fight. So does one guy get the jump? So the jump is when, your competitor can't leave until you've left. And there's just different things. It can get very arcane in terms of how these races are staged.
And how do they start? They don't bring a lighting system of any kind, right?
So Willie back in the day brought a Christmas tree. He brought lights out onto the street.
Zuckerman, are you okay? The phlegm, I can hear it. I let 2 sneezes go, but that trombone you just blew back there. Are you all right?
Jewish mating call.
Did my phlegm problem suddenly transfer to you? What happened?
I've just got dust in the air.
I've never seen him at a
loss for words.
A loss
what
for
happened?
words. What happened there, Zuckerman?
I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking of, where does Dominic Toretto come in?
Oh, he comes in.
Does he really?
Oh, yeah. In our Hollywood episode, we get into the ties between Fast and Furious and Big Willie. There is a Dodge Charger Daytona in one of the Fast and Furious movies. I spoke to the picture car coordinator. He grew up a fan of Big Willie, and he put a red Daytona in that movie. And, I'm not sure he would say it was a direct influence, but definitely Big Willie was in his heart.
Wow.
There you go.
It's fascinating, man. It's really cool. You've done a great job here. You seem to have a very exciting life as a journalist. Now a car journalist.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I reviewed some cars for the LA Times last year. Right as I was getting into this, I tried my hand at automotive criticism.
What do you think about that?
Oh, it was brutal. I would never do it.
Really?
And I have a lot of respect for the people who are able to do that.
Right, and make it entertaining.
Right. I mean, Dan Neal was at the LA Times. He won a Pulitzer at the LA
best.
Times.
Yeah.
And now he's at the Wall Street Journal. There's two things. First of all, I just think it's so hard to translate your feelings about something like a car into something that others can consume and relate to. It's
Right.
a real skill, but also it kind of took some of the fun out of it for me.
Yeah.
I think this allows me to approach cars and my interest in cars from kind of a side angle. But when you're reviewing cars, you're deep in it, and you're dealing with the car companies themselves. You're dealing with the PR people. You're in that machine, and it can be ugly.
And there are enough people doing it right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There just are enough people doing it. This is far more interesting. Again, congratulations. I think it's great. My computer just went down. It's called Larger Than Life. You can get it wherever you get your podcasts.
That's
Anywhere, right?
Anywhere, and also LATimes.com/largerthanlife for tons of videos, photos, archival documents. We've
And
got
then
it
let's
all.
get that Illegal Street Racing Scene podcast up and running.
Hey, that's season 2, right?
I'd like that. I would listen to that because and it's like Zuckerman's Outlaw Archive. What Zuckerman has kind of taught us all about the Hells Angels is the organization of the Hells Angels, which is something I didn't know existed. And it sounds like there's this structure there too. These little, I don't know. I find that stuff fascinating.
Informal organizations.
Informal organization, yeah, of something highly illegal, and of course we don't want to aggrandize it and glorify it, but still, it
takes on aspects of a culture and an organization. They
fun.
figure out their little rules, their mores, the way they handle things. Interesting.
Yeah, it's a whole world. It was a privilege to be able to dive into it.
Cool, man. Well, thanks for coming by. Come back sometime. Zuckerman, you have anything to say before we go? We're going to be up in Monterey. Zuckerman and I will be there.
We'll be there. Come look for us and buy your Plan Z T-shirts.
Buy your Plan Z T-shirts. We'll be at the Inn at Spanish Bay. We have forums on Thursday and Friday, and then we'll just be walking around like the rest of you for the rest of the time. I'm Spike Burst, and we'll see you next week on Spike's Car Radio.
Thanks for listening to Spike's Car Radio. Download new episodes every Wednesday on the Podcast One app or subscribe now at Apple Podcasts or PodcastOne.com.
Hey, Jordan here. I know a lot of you create your own podcasts, and a lot of you already have one like me. I obviously love what I do. It's taken a lot of hard work to get to this point of success. You shouldn't have to pay fees for platform hosting, distribution, analytics, or fees to create a podcast. You need to be able to focus on producing the best show possible. Now, Podcast One, that's the network I'm on, they have Launchpad Digital Media, or Launchpad DM for short. So it's free, includes unlimited hosting, full control of distribution. You have access to a full dashboard with analytics. Again, totally free. You own everything, by the way. You own your content, you own your subscribers, no tricky stuff there. And you get your own show page on launchpaddm.com for people to listen to and subscribe to your show. It's the only hosting platform brought to you by the leading network, Podcast One. Podcast One will promote the site, drive people to discover your podcast, and if your show grows, you could even be invited to join Podcast One's all-star roster, which includes people like Adam Carolla, Caitlin Bristow, Shaq, Lady Gang, and of course me, Jordan Harbinger. I'm there too. You also get access to their production and sales support. So with all this completely free, don't use other hosting platforms. Why would you need to? Learn more or sign up now at launchpaddm.com. And don't forget to check out The Jordan Harbinger Show.